Brad, welcome to the Pitch to Bricks podcast. Thanks for coming on.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, good. So, at Leigh Leopards at the minute. I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit how the season's going to start off with.
So we've had a pretty strong start to the season. Obviously, Wigan won the comp last year. We had them round one, and we had a good win against them. And we fell off. We had a couple of iffy results over in Hull, but I think we're sitting about 6th in league at minute, but it's tight. I think we're only 1 point off second, and in the semi-final at Challenge Cup against Warrington, so that's coming up in a few weeks' time. So yeah, it's been a strong start to the year. We're only a quarter away through, so it's been a good start, but obviously the business end will be coming up later on.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can stay mates after the semi-final.
Yeah.
Obviously being a Warrington fan, but So obviously rugby league, established rugby league player, but obviously with a keen interest in property. So obviously wanted to get you on and to talk about that as a journey. So, I mean, rugby league. When was it that you sort of started thinking about, like maybe I need to start thinking about life after rugby?
With rugby league, it's a strange one. Obviously, professional athletes full time, you earn good money. But obviously, like most sports, it's only a short career. You can only do it as long as your body lets you. So there is a lot of awareness out there now, especially when I first started coming through. I'm 31 now, but when I first started coming through, there was quite a bit of awareness that started happening about players retiring, not looking after money, not investing well, not really getting education, and not really knowing where to go after rugby, financially and I think it affected a lot of people's mental health as well. Yeah. So that was a big turning point. And throughout my career, it's progressed the education that you're getting about knowing what's coming around the corner and right retirement. So it is well spoke about now in the game that you've got to do something and prepare for life after rugby league. So that was always in the back of my mind, obviously being spoken about all the time. But I never really knew what I was going to do. I was always focused, obviously early on, like most people, I was always focused on my rugby and getting the most out of that and just enjoying living my dream, to be fair. And it started, I was living in Wigan and I played for Warrington, just bought my first home, and I had plans to do a bit of an extension and renovate it to live in. It was never an investment. And then within 6 months I'd signed for Leeds, so obviously I had to relocate. So the money I was going to do the work with, I then, I was just always against renting at that stage in my life. I just thought, well, I'm not paying someone else's mortgage, which a lot of people say, which can be a bit naive, because renting and using your money to elsewhere to invest is also a good option. But I just, at that point, I wasn't going to move to Leeds and rent. So I didn't have much money, but I could afford a 1-bed apartment in Headingley, which turned out to be a great investment, but it weren't the best place to live, but it served me well. So I stumbled upon having two properties. The first one I just rented out. And then after a couple of years in Leeds, I started earning a bit more money. I had a bit more behind me and I wanted to live in a nice area of Leeds, so I bought a house in Leeds, kept the other two, and then my family had always done work to family homes and stuff, my dad being a builder, so I knew whatever I bought I was going to turn into a nice home anyway. So I bought a 3-bed semi-detached with the mindset of extending and creating it into a 4-bed and improving the kitchen bathroom, and from that I earned a decent chunk of money, and it was at that point that I knew, right, I'm going to come out with a lot of money in this, I need to start educating myself. So I was like 26, 27-year-old once I'd completed that, and then that's where the education started, with just YouTube and conversations with like-minded people and what's the best route to go. And I'm, like I said, 31 now, and over 4 or 5 years on that journey, I'm still learning. So that's how I got into property, and that was probably the turning point when I was beg, steal and borrow everything that I could get to do that house, but I knew there was a big chunk coming back, so I was like, right, I need to figure out what I'm going to do to prepare. 28-year-old, I knew I didn't have long left in rugby. How can I prepare for life after rugby? So that's how I did it.
So would you say that it's fair to say that it was a bit of like an accidental chain of events that has led you to be like, hang on a minute, I don't like renting, which rightly or wrongly, that was your approach at
Yeah.
the time. You didn't like renting. You've discovered that, hang on a minute, this can work,
Yeah.
and almost not stumbled across it, because it's not a stumble, is
Yeah.
it? But it's like a chain of events that have gone, hang on a minute, I know that I need to plan for life after rugby at some point, but I just don't quite know what it is. And then your career's sort of played out in a way that has developed that property journey, and the two have sort of just like merged along.
Yeah, 100%. Everything fell into place. Like, I was smart with money. I was careful with my money. Like I said, I didn't go and waste it on cars and just blow my money. So I was always inclined to be a bit smarter about that. But yeah, 100% being forced to move and buying my second property. And over that period of time, seeing how much house prices went up in value, collecting the rent, you start realising, well, there's money to be made in this. But yeah, I think at the start I fell into that stigma of, oh yeah, never rent, pay your mortgage off. And then it was through them decisions that I got forced into, I started realising, well, actually there's a different way of doing things. And then, like I said, the amount of money that I made from the house that I did up and then eventually sold, it was that forced my hand, seeing how much value there was in it and how much you could make. Plus getting old and the pressure of retirement coming, is like, right, this is the vehicle I'm going to use to create my life after rugby, with them pressures. So yeah, I stumbled into it, and like I said, everything happens for a reason. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about, haven't we, about how there's this big sort of target on sports people at like age 35, but when we're working with clients, we're always talking about the why property. So property can be quite a fashionable thing, can't it?
Yeah.
Or perceived as the thing to do. But we always talk about the why, like why would an athlete or a rugby league player go down the path of property? And I suppose the different points of that journey, isn't there, in terms of owning your own home as a foundation, but then obviously the investing. So what is it you're doing now then, in terms of, like, you're at 31, and it's probably fair to say that you've done a lot of the work beforehand, but like, what is it you're like looking at doing now in terms of your property sort of like interests, and what is it you like doing around that?
Yeah, the biggest thing now that you've got to work back, and for me, when I got to that point that I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this money and how I'm going to do it and how retirement looks for me, you've got to look back. And I learned to just go, right, well, what do I need to retire? Like, what's going to be my safety net? Like I spoke about before, it wasn't necessarily to retire on property, it was to just give me a safety net to go and figure out what I'm passionate about, what pays me enough money, and what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that's the first thing that I did. I went, right, how much money do I need? So I went, right, this is X amount of money, that's my goal. I can retire from rugby and I can be comfortable then. And then it's like, well, what have I got to achieve that? So then it was like, right, I need X amount of money, I've got this amount of money to create that passive income coming in. So then it was like, right, what's the best vehicle for me to translate the chunk of money that I've got now into passive income that's going to let me retire? And that was BRRs. So I had a chunk of money and I knew I could probably buy 4 or 5 buy-to-lets, but then that would be me done, and it wouldn't quite take me to that figure I needed a month. So it was like BRR. I had a dad who was a builder, so I employed him. So then it was like, right, I need to turn the houses around, bring as much of my equity, of my chunk of money back out, so I can use that again to buy more assets that will pay me passively, that will get me to my X amount of money that allows me to retire comfortably. Now, I'm not far off that point. I'm more or less there at 31, which is a good position to be in. But I think that as a sportsman or someone looking at retirement, that's the first thing you've got to do, is like, what's my first goal? And what have I got to access to create that? Now I'm there, I'm probably at another point where I'm reflecting on it, right, well, what's the next? So I employed my dad, and my next one is to retire my dad. So he's working for me full time now. So it's how can we get enough to leverage that we both can have a comfortable life. But like I said, the BRR model was the one that I went down, along with, I've done one flip, but that was because there was so much money sat in it that I needed to release that money to then fund all my BRRs.
So BRR is for benefit of the audience is buy, refurbish, refinance, right? Because there's lots of lingo with property, isn't there? And that comes back into what you hit on a really good point there about it wasn't necessarily the property that drove you, was it? It was the ability to have an amount of money that enables you to go onto your passion. But listening to you, has property become your passion? Or is there another chapter for life after sport where you go, actually, you know what, the property would enable me to do that?
Yeah, obviously I'm pretty passionate about rugby. And leaving rugby, the thought of leaving rugby, I didn't want to go and do something that I wasn't passionate about. And I'm lucky that property has turned into that. That wasn't my goal at first, but it has turned into that. I'm passionate about speaking to people about it because I think there's a lot of unknown that people don't understand it. I think a lot of people know that bricks and mortar are a great investment. And that was how I started off. I'll buy a house, or I'm not selling my house, but instead of renting, I'll go and buy another. But I never really understood the numbers. I never really understood why property is so good. The thought of leveraging, the thought of what inflation does to your money and stuff like that. So once I started learning these things, like self-liquidating debt, about owning the asset, and all these things, once I started learning them, I started realising why property was a good vehicle. And I like speaking about that. I'm passionate about telling other people because I'm living it at the moment. I know the anxiety about retirement. And I know what property's created for me now, and I think it's not, people need educating about it because it can free and it can just change the prospect of what you laugh. I always speak about rugby, and rugby's great. We all play rugby because we want to achieve and we want to do something and have some success. But when I got to a certain age, I started realising that I wanted more than memories and medals and mates coming from my career. And what rugby's done is it's financially allowed me to invest in property, and my future looks like, well, it's in my own hands. I'm going to be my own boss, and retirement or semi-retirement can look however I want it to be now because I've used that vehicle. And
to make it clear, you're not absolutely finished with rugby, are you? Because at the end of the day, you're still very much focused on that. You have to be, don't you?
Yeah. It's hard getting the balance. Coach I had, Tony Smith, he was adamant on players having something away from rugby. Because Chris Hill, he's got a successful plumbing business and he had that from an early age. He liked the thought of a distraction away from rugby because it takes the pressure off, and like people being set up away from rugby takes the pressure of contracts and results and all these things away. So it frees players up to just express themselves. But obviously you can't go too far away, and you've got to still be a professional athlete. You've still got to do certain things to perform it. So it's about getting that balance right. The focus is on retirement and getting set up, but I'm also aware that it's a limited career that I'm lucky to do, and maximising that also is a massive priority of mine. It's just getting the balance between, which is probably another good thing about property in rugby or property in sport, how they can line up together is you get a lot of free time with being a rugby player. There's only so much you can be out on the field. There's only so much you can do physically, and a lot of it's about recovery. So you do get a lot of free time. So with property, being your own boss or looking after your property portfolio, you can do that in an afternoon or an evening. The two line up really well. It's just about getting the balance between the two and getting enough out of property to set yourself up, but not neglecting your profession as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good point you hit on there as well. And I think in terms of performance, because property isn't always a bed of roses, is it? It's like we shouldn't paint the picture of property being this thing that you just get into and you make a load of money, right? Because it's not necessarily about that. No. But so it does present its adversity, just like professional sport does. But have you had any situations you can draw on, gone, I'm not doing that again, or that was?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's been anything that I've said I wouldn't do again, because from my experience, I think property's that lucrative that you can afford, as long as you're not really uneducated and you're doing a lot of bad things. There is some wiggle room to learn, especially if you start basically buy-to-lets and you don't buy a really bad property. But no, I wouldn't say there's anything. There's lessons, hundreds and hundreds of lessons that I've learned, and the biggest challenge to me is not running before you can walk.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of everything. I bought a commercial and turned it into a residential. The price I bought the property at was great, but the stress it's caused, and a lot, like they said, the process of financing it, solicitors and stuff like that was a lot more dragged out. There was a lot more stress to it. It was a lot out my comfort zone. Yes, I'll have made a bit more money, but is that time, is that effort, is that stress worth that tiny bit more money? Where if you stay along the buy-to-lets or BRR routes that I was used to, could you churn more out? Is it less stressful?
Yeah.
And are you like just overcomplicating things? I think that's my biggest challenge with property is there's that many different avenues to go down. It's, well, pick my avenue, nail it, be good at it. I know a lot of people understand that property is a great investment, and I see a lot of them caught up on, well, which way should I go down? So they never take any action. Whereas I think what I said to a lot of people is take some action. As long as you know, as long as you're confident in the action that you're going, don't try and take the best action, because this ends up doing nothing. And like I said, time in the market's probably the best thing about property. So just go and take action and be open to learning on, as long as you know what you're doing, but be open to learning as you go. Because I've been probably, well, it's 8 years since I bought my first property, but I'm still learning. Like I say, I'm getting to a point where it's like, oh, have I done too much? Am I going down? Should I scale it back down and focus on? Because there might be more money in it, but there's a lot more stress in it, and it's getting that balance.
I think there's a lot to be said for what you said there around picking your lane and being really, really good at it, isn't it? In terms of, you could probably relate that to sport as well, couldn't you? In terms of like a position.
Like,
if you're playing a position, just be really, really good at that thing, and you'll probably, the longer term, you'll probably be like, more valuable in it as a result. And you mentioned it before about skill set as well. I think that is another thing not to be overlooked as well, because even if you just did one buy-to-let refurbishment as a rugby league player, because we'll stick with that for context, but if you're just going to do one buy-to-let refurbishment as a player, that will teach you loads, won't it? You might identify something within that you go, well, I'm going to be an electrician then. Or I might be do you know what I mean? So
100%, and it's like there's that many avenues you can go down. It's like, oh, I'll go down all of them. But like I said, the one thing we spoke about previously is if you can get one property as early as you can in your rugby, in your sporting career, like you should do well out of rugby. You should earn a good living. If you can be, the two biggest things I always say to lads when I speak to them about it is be leveraging your money, and leveraging who you are as a person, and people want to help you. That's one of the things. And the other one is delayed gratification. A lot of people, as soon as they get that first big contract or that first, they go and buy a nice car, they go on all these nice holidays. Now, I'm all for a nice car, I'm all for a nice holiday, but it's just getting the balance right. Because I don't see the point in having a load of money, a load of assets, and not enjoying your life as well, and not enjoying being a rugby player. So it's about getting the balance right. But them two things that I speak to them about is leveraging your money while you earn well, and making that money work well for you. If you buy assets early, if you have a 10-year, 15-year career, if you buy them early enough, by the time you finish, there's a nice cushion that you're going to go on. So you don't need to overcomplicate it. Just buy early if you can. And the delayed gratification side of it is, well, I'm earning good money, but if I put that money to good use now, that goes in assets that are going to pay me over a period of time and go up in value, I'll go and buy my Rolex in 5 years' time instead of buying my Rolex now and then having nothing left.
So you're saying there about delayed gratification. Well, I think that's really easier. It's easier said than done, isn't it?
100%. I've toyed with it. The very first house that we spoke about, I had plans. The 20k that I had was to do an extension, to have an open plan living, and I wanted a pool table that was a dining table. So I had a pool table when I was a kid, but it was a pool table in the house, and I just thought, right, I don't want that when I'm older. I want this. I seen it, the company that did them, and it was so expensive, but that was always my dream. And I've still not had that pool. I've still not done that dream home. I've just bought my dream home with my partner. But I'm 31 years old, and I could have bought a nice house 5-6 years ago, and I could be still sat paying that mortgage off, doing my best, and worrying about retirement and how that looks, and how I'm going to pay that mortgage off, how I'm going to live the lifestyle that I'm used to. But I didn't. I bought property and I held off it. But so many times I've been like, right, I'm ready to buy. I want my own dream home.
Is the pool table going in the new place?
Yeah, but I'm fortunate enough we're going to put a bar in it. So I've got one room in the dream home, and I can design that. So that'll be the bar that it'll be going in. But these are things that have been my motivations from when I was young. And it was always like, I want them things, but I'm not going to be able to sustain it when I finish playing rugby. So now it was always, well, buy assets that once that I've got them and I've got enough of them to pay for my lifestyle and the way I want to live, then I can start reaping the rewards. I'm fortunate I'm in that position now where I'm going to be able to start doing that. But if I didn't have that delayed gratification when I was a bit younger, I'd never have had that. And that's probably the easiest point for people to get in with no families. As a professional rugby league player, you're earning good money at like 20, 21 if you're playing first team. For that age, you're earning really good money. If you can get a property ladder then, and even if you just lived in it, but for 2-3 years time, then you're going to increase your wage, so there's more you can invest in, but that property that you bought early is gone up in value that you can access by refinancing and buy other assets, and that compounds. So the earlier you buy it, the more it's going to grow, the quicker it's going to grow, it's going to compound, and the more you'll be able to buy. It's
almost just like thinking about just like doing the right thing now, and obviously just keeping an eye on the future, isn't it, I suppose, in terms of that?
I agree with what you said. It is a lot easier said than done. Like, it's like, well, I can go and have this nice thing now. But when you zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, it's like a 10, 15 years career that you can have nice things and live a nice, because you earn enough money to live a nice lifestyle. There's just a balance between it, whereas you could potentially set the rest of your life up for having all them nice things and a lifestyle that when you get older, I know it's difficult because at 20-year-old, you think you're going to live forever and you think you're going to play forever. I agree, because I felt that way. So I get it, but listening to people who's that bit further down the line, it's underestimated how much of a difference. We speak about Josh Fulis, who's been done really well, and at a young age got a couple of properties. Even if he never bought a property again now, once he retires, just by owning them assets, they're going to increase in value. That's going to give him a nice cushion.
All the things you've talked about, the experience, the skill set, the experience of going through that process of refurbishing something, even that, for getting the money is good experience, isn't it? So.
100%. And even if it's you have that experience to do your own home, or if you did your first home, and there's no pressure because it's your own home and you can do it, and then you take the confidence through that. But certainly by adding value to a property, property's great because it gives you passive income in your rent, and it's got your capital appreciation where it's going to grow. But if you can add value to it as well, it's like a double-edged sword. And this is what we spoke about, leverage, and leverage is great, and a lot of people in property talk about leveraging your money and leveraging the bank's money so you can use it to work more for you. But leveraging who you are as a professional, club sponsors, fans of the game want to be associated with professionals. So whatever they're doing in their day-to-day life, whether they're a mortgage advisor, whether they're an accountant, whether they're a builder, whether they're a plumber, all these people would want to help you on that journey. That's certainly what I've done. I've leveraged being Brad Dwyer and not having a clue about property, or not knowing how to finance a property, not knowing how to build an extension, but I've leveraged people wanting to help me because I play rugby. It gets my foot through the door, and that's helped me learn, but also helped me build my portfolio. And
it's a really good point that you make there about leveraging your personal brand. We spoke to Fiona from Pro Data Stack on one of our previous episodes, and she was saying about how she was advocating people, like exactly what you've just said there, like understand your value whilst you're an athlete, to be able to leverage that out. And I think that's a really, really key point you make there.
It's difficult because I would never say I've got a personal brand, and this is the issue that we've got certainly in rugby league, is you don't realise what an asset you actually are. I'd never say I've got a personal brand, but I know that club sponsors would want to help me.
Yeah.
But it's just taking yourself out of that negative, not negative, but small-minded mindset of, well, actually, people will want to help me. I can access this education or this service that this person does, and I can trust that they're going to help me. It's not necessarily getting, a lot of rugby players will know that, like, you get free protein, or someone would want you to wear their clothing brand to see such and such a body wearing their clothing brand. It's not necessarily about getting the service for free. It was more about having confidence that that person wouldn't let you down. That person would want to help Brad Dwyer because he plays rugby for the team that they support. So he's going to do his best to not let him down. So it gave me a bit of confidence that I could trust the advice, or I could trust the service that I was going to get in something that I wasn't really quite sure on.
Makes a lot of sense.
So it's not only getting things at discount or getting looked after price-wise, that also is available. Like, I do a lot of renovations now, and everyone knows the cost of living and the cost of materials is really expensive at the moment. So what I do is I leverage the platform that I've got on socials, whether it's LinkedIn or, and I go, right, who's got the best price for this? If it's a big enough materials, who can give me the best price? Now, if I was a normal person on the street, I might have my friends and family on that platform and no one else, so I'd have to go to each building merchant and go, which takes so much time, and it's difficult when you're busy as it is. Whereas I can go in on as quick as a post, I can say, right, this is the materials I list, who can send me a price over, and then it's just as simple as that. They're the best price. That can save me a lot of money and a lot of time in going finding sourcing materials and stuff. But I know I can do that now, and a lot of building merchants don't like it because they're always competing against each other. But I'm just leveraging my platform and what I've got access to, and you've got to do that because, like you say, it's hard enough as it is with the cost of living and inflation and stuff like that. Things are getting more and more difficult to do. Stamp duty going up, interest rates are high, so everything is a lot more difficult to do. So you've got to exploit every bit that you can out yourself.
And we'll ask every guest who comes on just to sort of summarise. If you could just give a listener one sort of key takeaway, one key tip that you would sort of, to give us one golden nugget from this episode, what would it be?
It's a tough one.
You've given us a few.
It's a tough one. I think the biggest issue is there's a lack of education, mate, and I don't say that looking down on people because I was uneducated in how money works. And once you understand and break out of the rat race and understand that you've got to make your money work for you, whatever money that is, you've got to make your money work for you. And if you've not got money, you've got to find a way of making money. And then once you've got that money, don't have it tied down. You've got to make that work as hard as you can for you, because that's what wealthy people do. That's what educated people do, and that's not taught in schools and stuff. So my biggest thing would be educate yourself and make your money work harder for you, because I just don't see, with the way cost of living is and the way the world's going at the minute now, I think life is just to get by. I just don't think trading your time for a wage. I was thinking about it on way, and imagine filling a water bottle up and you've just constantly got something leaking out. That's what it feels like at the minute with inflation and everything's so expensive, and wages not quite rising as much as that. So you've got to use what you've got, and you've got to maximise that, and by buying assets and stuff like that. And I know it's not just as simple as that, but there is ways of doing it once you start educating yourself on it.
Great advice. Thanks very much, Brad, and thanks for coming on.
No worries, pleasure.
Great chat, and wish you all the very best for the season.
No worries, thanks a lot.
Mate.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers, man.